Alright, hey everyone. So before I go into the defense guide, let's get some general things out of the way. There's this patch called the CCU, the Core Combat Update. It was meant to shift the meta of the game. This game has been out for like 6 years, right? So they wanted to change the way that it's played. And well, it worked. Offense is much more viable, and light attacks are way more effective in neutral. Overall, there's much more unreactable mix-up in the game. Also, I should note that I'm on console, so I can't speak for the PC version of the game. People have always said For Honor is very different on PC, so I wonder if that's still the case today, especially since crossplay is on its way. Anyways, let's talk about the patch first. Light attacks are generally unreactable now. There's more to it than that, but that's pretty much the most important thing, aside from stamina changes and damage changes being similar across the board. Characters still have different health values, so I don't think that damage changes are too bad. In general, it's much more viable now to just take a turn, unlike the old version of the game, where there was much more risk in doing that. Parrying lights on some characters was really easy, like on Highlander for example. Or even how some assassin characters could just react to your light attack with a dodge every single time. Offense is much better now. This doesn't mean that we can't have a defensive playstyle anymore. We just have to be a bit more active about it. There are still light attacks that are faster than other light attacks, and mashing still does have counters, so going for a strictly offense strategy isn't safe. Also, it's important to know that matchups might require you to play more defensively or offensively, even what defense options are available to you. Alright, so now that that's out of the way, we can go into some defense concepts and even touch on some theory and mind games in a bit. So defense concept 1. Matching your enemy's guard. This is a really simple thing you can do to improve your defense a lot. They might have this one in the tutorial, but back in the day it really didn't matter because you could just react to whatever direction the attack was coming from. Now it's way more important and you really don't want to look this over. Sure, there are counters to this, but there are a lot of moments in the game where two people might just be in neutral, not doing anything. And when they realize that their opponent isn't doing anything, they just want to mash light attack. I mean, why wouldn't they, since they come out super fast now? Also, later in the vid, we'll talk about our defense options after blocking or even after being hit. This is a really basic concept that I just wanted to make sure I'd cover in the video. So next, dodging and blocking in tandem. Dodging is not really something you can do on reaction against light attacks anymore, so we kind of have to predict when someone is going to attack. This is why you may see people dodging in neutral even though there's no attack coming out. What can happen when we dodge in the wrong direction, or even just a couple of frames early or late, could result in our dodge getting hit. This could even happen when dodging out of chain pressure, and you get hit by some really slow heavy attack that hits you at the end of your dodge. One way to defend against this more optimally is to guard in the opposite direction of our dodge. This way we can dodge to cover a direction while also blocking to cover the other direction. For assassin characters, and even some other characters might not be able to take advantage of this, however they could still rely on backdash or walking back to outspace the opponent. This is why having your back against the wall becomes really dangerous, because your opponent can move back to outspace you, but you can't do that to them. Dodging also has some recovery to it, so there's a brief moment where you can get hit after your dodge. This will sometimes happen because we are dodging as a prediction, not so much on reaction. So it won't always work, but it beats just waiting there to get hit. This will happen if you dodge like too early, for example. After successfully dodging an attack, you want to use whatever dodge attack your character has to hit them before another attack gets thrown. For Honor allows us to whiff cancel our moves, so you can keep attacking even if your move misses. Characters with no dodge attack don't get to retaliate between an enemy's chain, because their dodge won't recover in time before the opponent's next attack comes out. This is why it's really important to have dodge attacks if you want to use this strategy. That's not to say that these characters are bad, because they may have like really good offense to compensate, like Centurion for example. These characters' game plan will revolve more around stopping their opponents from doing this, rather than actually doing this themselves. More on this in just a bit. Let's talk about dodging with a little bit more context. So the new patch gave us the opportunity to dodge out of light chains, even on hit. This means that we can steal turns out of our opponent's turn if we have dodge attacks. This is the new sort of meta that the game is in right now. It's almost like a mini game, so let's go over it. If the opponent does light, we could dodge before the second move and guarantee something. This is where characters really start to differentiate. Orochi dodge light counter can be blocked, but it leads to mix-up overall, so Orochi is in a pretty good position after this. Same thing goes for Berserker. If Gladiator gets his light blocked, then he loses his turn, but this is why he can punch people. The enemy can dodge Gladiator's punch, but not his light. Every character with dodge moves has different options here, so it's important to know what your options are and what your opponent's options are to deal with this. Another situation that can happen is to do one light attack and then wait. This is overall the best option if we want to bait the opponent. Remember before how Gladiator got to mix us up with punch or dodge light? Now, because we're neutral and we're not whiffing a move, we can deal with both of his options accordingly. But if he knows that we're just going to stop our turn, then he could just mash, and then now the situation is flipped, and now we're sort of in the minigame. Are we going to dodge his light? But if we do that, then he can bait us out. So that's the minigame. We established that we can steal a turn after getting hit. Then the opponent will have to give up his pressure in order to stop us from doing that. Some characters in the game, like the new pirate hero for example, actually enforces this without having to stop her turn, because her second light is undodgeable. This does the job of convincing people not to steal their turn. One other option is that if the opponent does light, we can try to parry the second light. We know it's going to happen, so we might as well just try to guess the side. Yeah, the risk if we're wrong is that we get hit, but the reward if we're right is we get to parry and then hit him with a heavy attack. So you might not want to do this all the time, but I feel like it utilizes risk reward pretty well. The reward's more in our favor. So to backtrack a little bit, we were talking about the importance of using dodge attacks to steal your turn. But what if our character doesn't have dodge attacks? Or what if they're really bad or slow ones? Well, sorry to say this, but you won't really be able to steal turns this way. Because dodging will always lose to 3 light chains if you don't have a sort of dodge attack. However, most of these characters do have more health because they will obviously get hit more, so you must rely on hard baiting your opponent into trying these risky things. This does mean you'll have to give up more turns, but you have to do it. Once they're conditioned not to dodge, then you can do more fancy stuff and cool mix-ups, but you first really need to earn that respect. If you don't have dodge attacks or they're not good, you can also use a more mid-range game, also known as footsies. I'll cover that topic in the next video because there's so much to discuss with that. All characters can utilize footsies, and it's honestly a really interesting topic, so I hope this video is received really well, so I can make that video. With year 6 on its way, we can expect a lot of new players, and hopefully this guide is a really good way to start getting you guys to think about the game and to think about your characters differently. Alright, thanks again guys, have a good day.